I would like to welcome everyone to the Mayor's Youth Budget Town Hall hearing on his proposed FY15 Children and Youth Budget. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming out, particularly our youth. And I would also especially like to thank the staff here at the Charles Sumner School Museum and Archives for hosting this event on today. Ms. Kimberly Springle, who is the Executive Director, and Mr. Kenneth Stuckey, who is the Resident Historian and Curator. He's in the back. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Office of Community Affairs, Director Stephen Glaudet, DPR, and the Office of Cable Television for assisting and coordinating today's events, as well as Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, as well as the Office of the Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services, as well as the other cabinet members and their representatives who came out from the various youth serving organizations. And I would like to especially acknowledge a new addition to the DC Youth Advisory Council, my new staff member, Ms. Christina Gilchrist. She has really been, she hit the ground running, and she has been a jewel in the office. And so, again, welcome to this town hall meeting. And at this time, I would like to introduce our youth representative who will introduce our mayor. This young man is an outstanding student who attends the Friendship Collegiate Public Charter School over in Northeast Washington, D.C. And he will introduce our mayor, Mr. Andre Glossman.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, let's try to liven it up just a little bit. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, thank you. The man that I have the pleasure of introducing, he is once again our mayor, and we would like to thank him for coming here. I'm Andre Glosson, as was said before, from Friendship Collegiate Academy. I am the Youth City Mayor of the YMCA Advisory Board Council. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Gray. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andre. And I want to thank all, excuse me, I want to thank all of you for coming out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I can think about 27 other things that that would be okay for folk to be doing. How many of y'all saw the game last night? Oh, wasn't that rough? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. I'm talking about our team, man. I'm talking about the Wizards and the Bulls. I was just telling Steve a second ago that I had the honor last night of taking out the game ball to midcourt. And when I handed it to the referee, I said, "All right, ref, we need you tonight for game 3, all right?" And he looked at me, he said, "I'm from Chicago." Little did I know. I think he was the one that put Nene out of the game also, which probably was a deciding factor in that game, because we lose by 2 or 3? 2 or 3? 3? And Nene is the key in that team, y'all. He is the key, in my opinion, anyway. I know Wall and Beal are they're good ball players, to say the least, and they scored up in the 20s last night, but Nene is the guy who's the key to that team, and Gortat, that other guy. But anyway, that isn't why we came to talk about the Wizards from last night, is it? We're going to win tomorrow. I want to welcome everybody to this Youth Town Hall meeting. This is the 22nd meeting, is that right? 22nd Youth Town Hall meeting since I became the mayor. And these things are important to me because it really keeps our young people connected to what's happening here in the city. This is the 4th Youth Budget Town Hall meeting that we've had. And there's a lot of stuff in this budget. We've got a book that's coming out in the next few days. I was just reading it yesterday. Where's Susie? Oh, you did the draft of that, right, Susie? And it's got a lot of good information in it. And I think with a few changes, nothing major, we could be ready to get that out next week, hopefully. And how will we distribute it? Do you know?
We will post it on budget.dc.gov. Cedric has said he will post it on his website, and we will also distribute it via Twitter and Facebook, and send it to youth-serving organizations, and we'll get it out there.
Okay, well, that's great. Anyway, I'm glad to be here at the Sumner School. And for those of you who don't know, if you go down the hall and take a right turn, you'll see the Dunbar Room in the Sumner School, which will give you the history of Dunbar all the way back to, I think, 1870 or something like that, 1880 or something like that. And no, I went to Dunbar, but I was not a student in 1870, okay? Maybe not long after that, but not 1870. In any event, we transmitted the budget to the council on April 3rd, and the council has been having hearings since. There are people in here who I'm sure have already been for hearings and will continue to do so once the council reconvenes next week after its week-long recess. And then they will get to the markups on the budget. So we want to talk about some of the things in the budget today, and then take any questions that you all may have. Again, the theme for this budget is keeping the promises, and that's just really trying to say that we are serious. When we say we're going to do something, we're dead serious about it. And I think that's reflected in this budget. There's 4 or 5 things that I want to mention that we want to make sure that were contained in this budget on behalf of our young people. One was to be able to continue to invest in increasing the academic and educational knowledge of our young folks and those skills associated therewith. Gaining meaningful work experiences, and we're going to talk a little bit about our career academies, which will be coming back in the next school year. Of course, adopting healthy lifestyles, having good summer programs, including our summer youth employment program, which, by the way, that was a really nice piece that I was reading about just a few days ago. That was done by WJLA, I think it was. Yeah, it was a very nice piece, and more than warranted. And then for young people to be able to have positive experiences with their family members. There are 4 pillars, as we call them, in this year's budget. Includes public education, which is really the future of this city. Being able to make sure those people who want to live in the District of Columbia will have a chance, a reasonable chance, to be able to live here. So affordable housing is a major piece. Economic and workforce development. Economic development being a lot of what you see happening around the city, the building that's going on, and then workforce development being getting people ready for jobs. And then fourthly, improving the quality of life for all people. Now the next slide is one I know all of our young folks have just been waiting for with bated breath, and that is to see where the money comes from for the District of Columbia. If you've been waiting for this slide, please raise your hand. Yeah, right, okay. Actually, you know what? This is a pretty interesting slide because the big piece, what color? Is that purple? Purple? The purple piece is where the local money comes from. And the local money is the money that largely supports our budget. That's where the lion's share of it comes from. We have a budget that's almost $11 billion, and almost $7 billion of it comes from our own money. And that's what makes it so hard to swallow when people tell us that we have to go up to Capitol Hill to ask, can we spend our own money? And I hope that one of the takeaways for the young people that are here today will be how you can increase your own advocacy for yourself. When you work for the Summer Youth Employment Program, you pay income taxes, right? And when you pay income taxes, you ought to be able to have a say over how that money is spent. And the problem that we have is that we don't have the final say on that. Our budget has to go to the Congress, where they have the final say right now on how our money is spent. So that big purple piece up there on the right-hand side where it says local funds, $6.79 billion. That includes our property taxes, it includes our income taxes, and it includes our sales taxes. Who can describe for me what sales taxes are? Who can tell me what they are? Anybody know what sales tax is? When you go into a store, do you pay taxes? You do. And what is that tax called? That's sales tax. That's exactly right. And right now, the sales tax, I think, is 5 3/4%. We have one of the lowest in the region. It used to be 6%, and there's some people who wanted to increase it, and I don't think we want to do that. Anyway, the rest of the money comes from other places like federal grants. The other biggest item is Medicaid. That's our public health care program, and we get $2 billion from the federal government to support our Medicaid program. And then the rest of it is just from a variety of sources that I won't spend any time talking about. And then, where does the money go? Over $4 billion goes to be spent on human services. Can anybody tell me what a human service is? Give me an example of a human service. Yeah. That's the mental health programs are a part of our human services. Yes, Andre. Welfare. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And child welfare and juvenile justice. Anybody have any other thoughts? Yes. CFSA is exactly right. That's exactly right. That's our child welfare programs. And we spend a lot of money on CFSA every year for young people who may be in foster care or other child welfare programs that are supported by human services. And then the other big one is public education. That's a little over $2 billion. Can somebody name me a public education program? How about the D.C. what? The D.C. public... Yeah, who said schools? Yes, D.C. public schools, that's right. And what about the charter schools? Aren't they supported by this also? And that's to the tune of $2 billion a year. So when you put human services together with public education, you have well over $6 billion, which is 60% of the district's budget. Now, one of the things that we have in this report that is just about finished now is a percentage of how much is spent on children, percentage of how much is spent on youth, and how much is spent on families. Now, the operating budget, anybody know what the operating budget is? Anybody want to guess what the operating budget is? Anybody know what the capital budget is? Yeah, you had your hand up. Cleaners? Could be. Yeah, the operating budget is the services that we provide. And the capital budget is the money that we invest in buildings, like building new libraries, building new schools, renovating schools, building new recreation centers, all those sorts of things. That's in the capital budget. And then the other budget is the operating budget, which we spend on services. 23% of our operating budget is spent on children, youth, and families, which means what percentage then is spent on adults? Anybody know? Come on, you all can do the math on that one. How much is 23 from 100? I heard somebody. 77. Who said 77? You're absolutely right. Yeah. You certainly did, because I could hear your voice. How much was it again? 77, that's exactly right. Now, if 41% of our capital budget, that is spending money on buildings, is spent on children, youth, and families, what percentage then is spent on adults? Who said it? Somebody just said it. What is it, Andre? 59%. That's exactly right. So thank you for being a good mathematician. All right, so 23% and 41%. Now, what will the fiscal year 15 budget pay for? We'll pay for housing, education, drug treatment, health, job training, public safety, art and music. I'm going to talk a little bit more about art and music in a second. What's literacy? Anybody know what literacy is? Who knows what literacy is? Yeah. Somebody said library. That's a good description. Yeah. Being able to read. Yeah, reading is literacy. Being able to add and subtract, that's financial literacy, right? Yeah. In addition to that, we got early learning. Early learning would cover like children who are what ages? Anybody know? What was it? 5 to 12. Under the age of 4. That's exactly right. It's actually under the age of 5. It's from birth up to 5, because at age 5 you go to the what? What grade do you go to at age 5? Kindergarten. That's exactly right. Kindergarten. And driver's license and other things. Now, the thing that we spend most of our money on, a big chunk of our money on, I should say, is education. And we are proposing to put $116 million new dollars into education this year. $112 million will go to the D.C. public schools. And what's the other area of public education? Charter schools, that's right. We got $112 million going to DCPS and public charter schools, and they will probably get roughly half each. What's half of 112? How much is that? Half of 112. Anybody know? 56. Who said 56? Yeah, we're going to give you the prize, man. You're on top of it. Yeah, you got 56 is right. So we got 56 going to D.C. public schools, and we got public charter schools getting 56. And then we did a study last year called the adequacy study. And the adequacy study was really trying to find out what else do we have to spend in order to feel like we are providing an adequate public education to our students. And that's some of the answers we got, and that's a big part of the investment that we are making in public education this year. $60 million of that $112 million will go into helping to deal with the adequacy study. And then, what's early learning again? What ages? Under 5, yeah, under 5, that's right, under 5. And so we are putting an additional $4.2 million into infant and toddler programs. And you know what? And that is money well spent, folks. That is money, some of the best money we could ever spend, because there is no point that is too early for our children to be able to go to school. Anybody know why somebody came up with the idea all those years ago that children shouldn't start school until they're 5? Anybody know the answer to that? And by the way, I don't either. If you don't know, I don't know what it is.
Stay home with their families longer. They want them to stay home with their families longer.
Stay home with their families?
Yeah, get home soon.
Yeah, that was a theory, except that some of our children really don't have families to stay home with, do they? So the idea is to get these children into public education programs as early as we possibly can, so that they can start learning as early as they possibly can. At $2.8 million, we're going to add more every year. The public charter schools, every charter school gets about $3,000 per student for their facilities, you know, to invest in what keeps up their facilities. And so we're proposing, right, Eric, we're proposing to increase that this year. And how much are we increasing the $3,000? What will the $3,000 become?
It's about 2.3% more.
And that'll be what, up to about $3,100?
Yeah, about that.
$3,100. And so when you add all that together, you get $2.8 million that will increase the facilities allotment. We are spending $1.6 billion on continuing to fix up our schools and rebuild our schools. And we're projected to have the largest enrollment in public education next year that we've had in 25 years. And that's good news, ladies and gentlemen. Almost 87,000 students who will be enrolled in public education. And a lot of those new students are early learning students, young people who are 3 and 4 years of age. And you're going to see more and more every year young students are being enrolled in this school. Why? Because parents are recognizing the value of getting those kids in school at an early point. And it also helps parents to be able to do what? If their kids in school in a good program all day, every day, their parents can, who said that? Absolutely right. They can work. That's exactly right. And you don't have to pay for daycare, right? So it's a good thing. All right, so we'll have the largest enrollment in our schools in 25 years next year. We're also going to invest next year in school nurses, more money, $5 million. We're going to make sure that every student in our middle schools will have a chance to be able to have technology available to him or her. Anybody know what technology is? What's technology? What is it? Yes, computers. That's a good way to describe it. Yes, computers. That's right. Algebra. Every student will get a chance to be involved in an algebra class, a foreign language, art, physical education, and music. And we haven't had the ability to say that for a very long time here in the District of Columbia. So that's a part of our budget as well. We also, who knows what the SAT is? What's the SAT? Anybody, you had your hand up, Andre. What's the SAT?
The SAT is a test that colleges use to base your admission.
Yeah, it helps them understand whether you're ready to go to college, right? And we want to make sure, yes. What'd you say? Yeah, yes. And we are committed to saying that we don't want any young person, any 11th grader or any 12th grader to not have a chance to go to college because they cannot afford to pay the fee for SAT. And so we are paying the fee. We're going to commit to paying the fee. We did it this year. We're going to do it again next year to pay the fee for all 11th and 12th graders to take the SAT. And we are opening a new, Your Honor, I know this will be music to your ears, a new youth engagement, re-engagement center. And that will be for the purpose of focusing on these 16 to 24-year-olds who have gotten disconnected, who have dropped out of school, who have dropped out of life in some instances, and to get them back into a program, be it a school or some other program that will help them move forward. I see Deputy Mayor Otero back there. You've been involved with the Youth Re-Engagement Center, is that right?
Yes, along with the Deputy Mayor for Education.
Yeah, so you're working together with that, right? Why don't you take a minute to tell all these folks what a Youth Re-Engagement Center is, for those who may not know. We're going to bring the microphone back to you. How's that?
The Youth Re-Engagement Centers are locations where you can come in and get not only services but advice and ways to reconnect wherever you are, whether you need additional credits, and we can look at where you should go in order to complete those credits to get your degree. We're going to be working in conjunction with DOES, am I correct? With DOES to make sure that they're co-location, and that way the services that are available at Department of Employment Services, all of you who've done SYP know what DOES is. DOES, raise your hand. And we'll be co-locating with DOES so that we can ensure that we're utilizing all the services that are available. If employment is part of the issue of why you aren't going back to school or haven't completed school, then that's where DOES should be able to help you. And any of the other services, maybe there are issues happening at home that are keeping you from going back to school or from staying in school, in which case we should be taking a look at what other social services we can support your family with so that you can get back into school. Maybe you were at DYRS at some point and you were connected, and Steve's here, and so DYRS might be helpful in terms of some post-DYRS kinds of services. So it really is for a place for young people to be able to come in and reconnect back with what they need in order. I mean, the key is finish school, continue with your education in wherever way possible, and be able to be employed. Because we believe that there isn't a single person who doesn't want to do that. Yeah. Sometimes they simply don't know what the right path or what the most appropriate path. And sometimes you're just you're simply have given up because somebody turned you off, or you told somebody that you tried to receive services and they didn't give you what you wanted, and so on. And so really it's a place for you to restart again, because all of us should have an opportunity to start again. It's happened to all of us. So that's what the intent is. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's a good explanation. And we think that there's probably around 7,000 young people who fit that category at this stage. I don't think we'll get all 7,000. In fact, I'm certain that we won't. But if we got a third of them, that would be a tremendous step forward. If we got, 2,500 of those young people to come back and get reconnected once again, imagine the benefits that would come to them, and imagine the benefits that would come to the city as well, to get them reconnected so they could maybe get their diploma, they can learn a skill, and they'll be involved constructively in the future of this city, rather than potentially something that they would rather not be involved in, and we would rather have them not be involved in as well. So this is new, and we're excited about doing it, and we'll build on it in the future years. We also are investing $1,100,000 into what's called the Common Lottery. Heretofore, we had parents who were applying to every, whenever they wanted to have their child go to a charter school, they had to apply to every school separately. Now we've got what's called a Common Lottery. They can apply in one place and simply list the schools that they want to go to, and those decisions will be made all at one time. We're putting $1 million into truancy prevention, $400,000 into a program run by the public library called Sing, Talk, and Read, and we're giving UDC, to try to keep even with inflation as best we can, another $1.3 million if that is approved in the budget by the council. All right. We are putting $404 million into fixing up schools and building schools, $174 million in high schools, $20 million into middle schools, $116 million in elementary schools, and an area called general improvements. Like, anybody know what ADA is? Who knows what ADA is? Americans with Disabilities Act is exactly right. And it allows accessibility, right? Yeah, it allows people to be able to access architecturally a lot of our buildings that they otherwise can't do. And so a lot of this money will go into those kinds of things as well. we are proposing to reopen Spingarn High School. You know what? Let me tell y'all something now. Y'all better fight for this one, because there's some people out there that don't want it to be reopened. They want to use that money for some other purpose. We've put the money, $62 million in the budget over a couple of years to be able to reopen Spingarn High School. There are a lot of people who want it, but you're going to have to stand up and speak out and say that I want the school reopened. Because if you don't, you may look up one day and somebody has said, I don't think that was the best decision that the executive has proposed for spending this money, so we're going to spend it on something else. And then everybody's going to be mad and upset. But you know what? The way to avoid being mad and being upset is to stand up and fight for it in the first place. So that's my advice to you, my request of you. It will be opened as a career and technical education high school that would focus on transportation and would focus on health care. In fact, there's a new car barn. How many of y'all know the streetcars are coming back to the city? Well, the first car barn being built in the city will be right there at Spingarn High School, right in front of us, being built right now. And the idea is to be able to have the school reopened and create training opportunities in transportation occupations for the students at that school. You know, Spingarn has a very, very storied history. Unless somebody knows differently, it is the only high school in America that has 2 of its graduates that are in the National Basketball Association all-time 50. Anybody know who they are? You even know one of them? One of them actually became the mayor of Detroit, and he was the mayor until about a year ago. Anybody know who that is? Dave Bing. That's exactly right, Dave Bing. And then there was another one, yes. Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor is exactly right. 2 absolutely fantastic ball players who went on. Dave Bing went on to be a very successful businessman. In fact, when he was the mayor, he only accepted $1 a year to be able to work as the mayor because he didn't think he needed the money, which is probably true. He did it out of the goodness of his heart because he wanted to see the city do well. And Elgin Baylor is an executive. Is it the Clippers? I can't think of which team it is. Yes. The Clippers? Yeah, he's an executive with the Los Angeles Clippers, which actually has a good team now. And both of those gentlemen went to Spingarn High School. As a matter of fact, for those who are advocates, it would be great to get them to either write a letter or, you know, do a taping and send it, but to get them to speak on behalf of reopening that high school, because those 2 gentlemen are known all over the country for what they have accomplished. We're putting $39 million, or proposing to, in Orr Elementary School, $32 million in Powell Elementary School, $38 million in Garrison, and $28.6 million into Stanton Elementary School, which is actually right around the corner from where I live. So that's education. Now we go to housing. We're proposing to put $100 million in keeping housing affordable in the District of Columbia. Anybody know how much we're putting into housing this year to try to preserve or build new housing that is affordable so you don't have to move to Ward 10 or Ward 9 or Ward 11? Anybody know how much we're putting in this year? Anybody want to take a guess? Yes. That's a good start. That's a good start, yeah. Huh? Going in the right direction. Back there. It's more than that. Somebody just said 78 million. That's going in the right direction. Yes.
100 million.
100 million is going in the right direction. $187 million this year. And we're proposing to put another $100 million into affordable housing for the current, another $100 million for the current budget. That would be $287 million, which seems like a lot of money, but it isn't when you start talking about housing. It is probably more than most cities are putting into housing at this stage. We're putting $4 million into what we call a local rent supplement vouchers, which are available to people who may have limited means to be able to use it to present to a person that owns a building who is renting buildings and lower the price of it. And then, Eric, I'm going to let you explain this LIHEAP thing. You want to explain it? You got to explain it in non-budgetese, okay?
All right, this will be a challenge here. The LIHEAP program is called the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, and this is for people who may have trouble paying an electric bill. And what the mayor has done here is he's put $1.3 million in to allow us to get additional federal funding, which will help us in a couple of ways. First, it'll help people with their electric bills, but it'll also provide a benefit for the SNAP program, which I do not know the abbreviation of. I probably should have looked that up. Anybody know what that is?
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
But I do know it is, excellent. But that is, it does help additionally.
Food stamps.
Food stamps, exactly. And, but that does help people who have additional needs with food. So it helps on both the food and the energy side. And the mayor's put the money in, so we get to keep that additional federal money. It's about a 20-to-1 match that he's put in there. So very good news for the city.
Thank you, Eric. Now, how many people know that we have families who are in shelter? I'm surprised every hand in the room didn't go up. We have a lot of families that are in shelter because they can't find a permanent place to live. And we're not going to turn anybody away. In fact, when it's below 32 degrees outside, we can't turn them away anyway. That's how we wound up with so many families, because we had no capacity to be able to move the number of families into permanent housing that presented themselves for shelter. So I think, how many do we have, Nicole? Around 650? 650 families? And every one of those families has 2 or 3 children. So just do the math on that. Some of them are DC General, some are in hotels, and I guess that's pretty much where they are at this point. So we started a program called 500 Families in 100 Days. And the point of the program is to be able to get people out of shelter and get them into a permanent place to live. We have asked landlords in the District of Columbia who rent apartments to make apartments available. We will help people with their rent. We have something called the Rapid Rehousing Program, where we will pay the rent for sure for the first 4 months. And then, what, Nicole, we can add another 4 months onto that, and we can add another 4 months onto that, right? So it could be a whole year that we will help pay the rent as people try to get themselves on their feet and move forward. So we're trying to get people into permanent housing, and we said we were going to do the 500 families in 100 days, which means by the end of June that we're trying to get this done. For absolute sure, we can't wait until November 1st, because the hypothermia season will be here again, and we'll be right back in the same set of circumstances that we got ourselves into, or the city got itself into last November. So that's a big program for us, and we're going to work to get people in permanent housing. We're putting $1 million into a program that will help people who are first-time home buyers to be able to have the money to make the down payment. And we're establishing a new home ownership campaign in wards 7 and 8. Anybody here live in ward 7 or 8? I do. Oh, good. We got a number of people who do. Well, we're establishing this program in ward 7 and 8. On the health front, we're establishing a program of home visitation for new parents who have children who may be at risk. We're establishing new programs for being able to do early diagnosis for children, $250,000 going into programs to try to help people stop smoking. Who smokes in here? Yeah, well, I'm not going to be preachy about it because I used to smoke also. And boy, it's the best thing I ever did, to stop smoking. Try going out and trying to play basketball or football when you smoke. Boy, you find out very quickly how out of shape you are. I stopped smoking a long time ago, and I am glad, because you can actually taste your food. You can actually taste your food, yeah. I mean, it really does make a difference. You can actually taste the food. and it tastes good. And then we're putting about $600,000 into trying to prevent infant mortality. We're making a lot of progress with infant mortality, and we want to make more. We want to reduce it down to 0 if we possibly can. We're down to 7.4 now, which is only about 6, not only, I won't say that, because any child that dies, that's a problem. But we had 69 children last year who died before they got to be 1 year of age, and that is eminently doable, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we're putting more money into it. How many of you all remember Bill Clinton? Who was Bill Clinton? President of the United States, that's right. And he has something called a global initiative, Clinton Global Initiative, and they are working with us on infant mortality, and we are going to be launching something in the next few weeks with them to assist with infant mortality. Now, the next slide talks about TANF. Who knows what TANF is? I know what TANF is. Yes, it's welfare. That's right. That's exactly right. Do you know what the letters stand for? T stands for what? Yes. Yes. You did your homework before you got here, huh? I'm proud of you. Temporary assistance for needy families, except that it had gotten to the point in the city where it was like permanent assistance for needy families, PANF. And so we've tried to turn it into temporary assistance. People do need help, but you make people very dependent when you don't put them in situations where they can move to another place. So we are increasing the grant in this budget, in the 15 budget and the 16 budget. And then in 17, right, Eric, we're going to raise it up to what it would have been if the increases had been given all the way back to 1996. Now, we're not going to make it retroactive, but we're going to raise the grant to that amount. So we'll give people more money, but they still got to get themselves ready to go to work because after 5 years, it's over, it's done, which the city never implemented. And then in 2018, we start adding an inflationary number on that, so the grant keeps going up for the new people who come on or the people who may have been on for a few years. We're also investing $1.5 million into summer programs for DPR. What kind of programs do you all have, Dr. Shanklin?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We have youth camps for children as young as 3 up through 21 for teens. We work with DOES. We have the largest number of youth that participated in the SYEP program that come to our structured teen camps and also support our youth camps as youth counselors in the summertime.
Yep. As a matter of fact, our summer programs have really been phenomenal. The last 3, and I guess this will be year 4, where all the agencies came together and worked together. Is that right?
Yes. We also, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, we collaborate with the Children's Youth Investment Trust and other CBOs to also initiate the Safe Summers program. So we have our mobile recreation with the roving leaders. We also work with the Metropolitan Police Department with their Beats the Streets program, and we offer late night programming, or I would say into the evening programming that includes basketball tournaments and other programs that we have during the year-round periods.
So do you all work together with the Department of Employment Services and the Summer Youth Employment Program?
Absolutely, and in fact, I'm forgetting, but we have a new initiative this summer with DCPS and DOES where we're going to be actually putting camps into the 8 sites that have summer schools, which is a new initiative. And thanks to DOES, that's where I think we'll have the employees for those programs will be coming from those youth. You want to say something about that, Jaron? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jaron. It's your moment in the sun.
Thank you, Dr. Shanklin. She just mentioned a new initiative that we're doing in conjunction with the Summer Youth Employment Program. Many of our young people like to work with other young people, and so I think that's a great role. My first job that I ever had was actually as a camp counselor at a recreation center, and I would say that it absolutely changed my life and set me on a path for what I want to do. We're big believers in the power of summer youth employment. If anybody's interested in those opportunities, come see me afterwards. We could talk to you about all the different ways you can get involved in serving young people this summer.
How many young people do we think will have a job this summer? I know we promised every young person who is eligible will get a job. That's what we've done the last 2 or 3 years, and we've delivered on that. We've kept promises. So how many do you think will be this year, Jaron?
We have just over 14,000 young people who are queued up and ready to participate. However, one caveat is that you have to attend the mandatory orientation session. Those sessions have been ongoing since the beginning of April and will continue through the end of May. So it's very important that if you want to work your summer job, you do have to make sure that you come to orientation. And also, if you're in high school or middle school in the district, you also have to go to school. A big change that we've implemented starting last year is that if you do not go to school, you will not be able to work. So you have to make sure that you are attending school on a regular basis, and that's how you make sure you can work this summer.
So if you are truanting, you will not be able to work.
That's exactly right. That's exactly where you get the attendance data directly from the source, and we'll be able to work directly with young people to let them know when that becomes an issue. So you have to make sure, talking to all my young people, and hopefully this doesn't apply to anybody in this room, but you got to make sure you are going to school every single day, not just because you want a summer job, but because you want to be successful, okay? Huge part of being a successful adult is making sure you have a great education. So I'm going to get off of my step stool in a second, but I just had to say that before we move on. Make sure you're going to school. We want to see all of you having a great, safe summer and a productive future.
Has anybody in here signed up for the Summer Youth Employment Program? All right. So if they miss orientation, they won't be able to work? Oh. Do you know when orientation is?
There are like 45 different dates, so I'm not going to list them all, but we have a number of different sessions. Everybody by now should have received notice with your specific date and time for orientation. If for some reason that doesn't work for you, you can email us at summerjobs@dc.gov. Summerjobs@dc.gov. Let us know that you have a conflict, and we can reschedule you. You can also check your SYEP Youth Portal. If you go to www.summerjobs.dc.gov, all of that information is listed right there, so you can see exactly when and where your orientation is scheduled to take place.
And they get to work in a lot of different places, is that right?
That's correct. You know as well as I do, we've had over 500 employer partners in the past few years who've worked with us. We're extremely happy to be working again with many of those partners and a few additional folks who've come on board. But we have a great just range of opportunities for you. Federal government opportunities. The U.S. State Department has signed on this year to take even more youth. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has upped their ante by about 50 slots this summer. We're looking at just a great array of opportunities. If you have whatever your interest is, I can guarantee you we have something that could meet your interests and help you to even peak those interests even further. So definitely have a lot of different opportunities.
All right. Well, the Summer Youth Employment Program has been around for a long time, for like 30 or 40 years. I don't know how long, but a long time. And really it has run extremely well the last several years. There used to be a time when people didn't get paid on time, when they weren't sure what their job assignment is and all that. Well, we've got that doesn't happen anymore. If you don't know where your job assignment is, that's your own fault. And if you don't know what you're supposed to do when you get there, it's your own fault. We're not going to take responsibility for that because there are too many opportunities that have been provided by Jaron and the staff at DOES to make sure that people know what it is that they're supposed to do. What is the date of the first day of employment this year?
So we start on Monday, June 30th, and it ends on Friday, August 8th.
Okay, and that would be 6 weeks?
That's right, 6 weeks altogether.
And we have accounts set up now so that the money is deposited right into young people's accounts. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Everyone will receive a Citibank Visa debit card. That's where your money will be paid each time we have a pay period. If you're 18 to 21, you can also opt to do direct deposit. So we'll have more information coming out about that very soon.
And they can go to an ATM machine and get their money?
That's exactly right.
Okay. We've been joined by one of our council members who I certainly enjoy working with. And she has a program that she did legislation on that I've been happy to support. I'm going to ask her if she would say a few words. But it's a program really for folks who are not youth. It's a program for seniors, and it's a great idea. Basically what it is a program that says that if you are 70 years of age or older, if you don't make more than $60,000 a year, and if you have owned a home for 20 years in the District of Columbia, you don't ever have to pay property taxes again in the District of Columbia. That is a fantastic deal. And that, of course, is Councilmember Anita Bonds. I'm glad that she stopped by today. And Anita, I'm going to ask you if you would say a few words. And not only did I sign the legislation, but we have put the money in the budget in order to make sure that it is funded starting October 1st.
Yes. I just want to say, well, firstly, good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I was coming across town, and one of the things that happened to me that you might see if you notice that my bottom is a little white, it's because one of the trainees at Denny's sort of spilled juice on me. It's okay, and I made.
What did she spill?
Juice.
Juice. Oh,
right down my back. Right down my back, and so you know
where's your next job going to be?
Right. So no. I made a point of saying, this was his first day.
Okay.
And so everyone deserves a second chance. Don't we agree? Most definitely, but
send him to DOES for an orientation.
But the Denny's has done a fantastic job of hiring persons from the District of Columbia and giving them an opportunity. In fact, I've been going there on a regular basis over the last year, and I've said to the manager, I wish so much we had an opportunity for you to explain to young people across the city the importance of good customer service. So, based on that, I said I better, try my very best to make sure that the young man keeps his job. And so he will be given another chance. I don't know how many chances, but at least he is still on the job today. But I wanted to be here because what you have to say about the mayor's budget is very, very important. You are the ones who ultimately will be able to take advantage of the 70 years and older no pay property taxes. But before you get there, there are things that we want to make sure are included in the budget that can enrich your life and make a difference for you in the District of Columbia. And I told Eric, I said, Eric said to me, Mr. Mayor, he said, well, this is the one town meeting that we haven't had a chance to talk about the legislation. And let's give the mayor a big round of applause because he understood how important this legislation could be for the city as a whole. But Eric said, well, we haven't talked about yours here. And I said, oh, Eric, you're giving me an idea. And the idea is, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you're ready for this, but perhaps if young people walk the narrow path and go ahead and graduate, and then perhaps do at least 2 additional years of education, enrichment, and technical training, that we can set up a lottery in the city so that they will be guaranteed an opportunity to have housing, and housing that they can afford. And we have to figure that out, but it just seems to me we want to keep our young people in the city. And I can say young people because you didn't know me when I was like you, riding around in carriages and in diapers and what have you. So forgive me if I use that term much too much. I know you're young adults, and we want to treat you as young adults. But we also want to make sure that you know that this community appreciates you and wants to nourish you and where you need to be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Councilmember. I actually thought you were going to say, and I would be happy to be supportive of it, maybe we should have a budget town hall meeting just for seniors.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. You know what? If you want to do that, we'll be happy to work with you on something like that.
Thank you. You all inspired that, okay? Remember that. We'll do that. That's excellent. Thank you.
I think you hadn't come in when we were talking about Spingarn High School. Had you come in when we were talking about that? That's in the budget to be modernized, to create a career and technical education program there. And we feel very strongly about this opportunity being made available to our young people, and I hope that we can encourage you to be supportive of this. It will put $62 million in the budget to fix up Spingarn High School. And we have a lot of Spingarn alumni in this community, and it would be a shame not to grab this opportunity and reopen that school, because we got the car barn that's going to be built there. There will be jobs that will be located right there, and they will focus initially on jobs in transportation and jobs in healthcare, both of which are hugely rich areas of job opportunities in the city, and it is in the budget. So I hope I can encourage you to consider supporting that for our young people.
Most definitely. And furthermore, perhaps maybe we can think about some of the middle school classes also being there, because as you know, waiting until you are a freshman in high school is sometimes too late to really begin to prepare for your future, and your future in the work world, your future in the technology world. So that might be another idea of how to utilize that beautiful campus. The purpose of it being related to transportation, and everyone knows we'll have to have that, into the future. So you might want to consider that. But yes, you have my support on the record. On the record. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Member. And we are opening, I should have mentioned in more detail, we are opening 9 career and technical education academies in August. We've been doing the planning since last August, and they will each serve between 200 and 300 students that will bring, in a sense, bringing back vocational education, or what we used to call vocational education, to our schools, except around job opportunities that we know are growing and exist here in the city. It doesn't mean that young people won't go on to college. They can choose to do that, but for those who want to go on to work now and work however long they want to work before they go to college, or may never go to college, there will be these opportunities available to them starting this coming August. The last thing I'll mention up here, and then we'll open up for any comments or questions that others of you may have, and that is we're putting a couple of $1 million into the Metro budget. It's called the Kids Ride Free program, that under certain circumstances, can you talk about what those circumstances are, Eric, that young people would be able to ride without cost on Metro?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mayor. So the WMATA Kids Ride Free program, what this does is during the school year, it allows kids who are in public schools and in our charter schools, too, to be able to utilize Metro Bus for free rides. Now, also, you'll have your Metro Fare passes as well, but this is an expansion for the bus program. What we've also done is been able to provide it on the weekends as well. So that's what this expansion you'll see here is. Part of this $2 million is because we're trying to provide weekend service, particularly for kids who may be going to and from school activities, so make sure that they can get there. So that's what the $2 million does in this year's budget.
All right. So we will we'll go to the next slide, but the next slide is really just thanking everybody for your participation, and we'll open it up for any comments or questions that you may have. And, you know, if you think the question is a silly one, please don't think that, because the only silly question I've ever been aware of is the one that doesn't get asked. A lot of times you ask a question and there are other people sitting in the room saying, I wish I had asked that. You know, I just didn't have enough nerve, you know, to ask the question or to make that comment. So we'll get the mic to you if you have any comments or questions that you would like to make at this point. And if you don't have any, we will assume that everything was just perfectly clearly explained.
Mr. Mayor, is it possible that the Walter Reed Hospital can be improved at this point?
Can be approved?
Yes.
Well, Walter Reed is going to be redeveloped, and a part of that is turning over the land from the Department of the Army to the District of Columbia to be able to control the land. And it probably will be another 9 to 12 months before all that is finalized. We've selected a developer for Walter Reed. That it will be developed as for housing, for offices, for retail. It'll be a mixed-use community on about 67 acres of Walter Reed. So it won't any longer be a hospital, but it will be put to use for the people who live in that area in ways that's never been used before. I saw some hands back there. There we go, right here.
No,
yes.
Right. I'm glad that you expand the summer job program to 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
We'll stand up together.
And we really tried to make the summer youth employment program be something other than just giving kids a check. Because what do people learn from that? If you just give folk a check and they do nothing for it, all they've learned is that this is just a giveaway program. So I appreciate your comment. Yes, ma'am.
Don't embarrass me.
So what's the plan for permanent housing for 500 families?
What was the question in that?
What's the plan?
What's the plan? Well, there's a plan, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor Otero to jump in with me, but the plan is, number one, to try to get those who own apartment buildings in the city to make them available to be rented. I think we've gotten already about 200 apartment units subject to being certified and what condition they're in and whatnot, but about 200 apartment units have already been made available to us. So that's a part of the plan, and then as I indicated earlier, we can pay the rent for people up to about a year as long as people are following their plan. We also, a piece of it I didn't mention is that we are asking mosques, synagogues, churches to step up and say that they will work with one family because a lot of what happens to our families is that they get into a place, and a lot of them have never had the responsibility of managing a household. And again, about half of the people, the head of the household for head of the family is somebody who is 24 years of age or younger, anywhere between 18 and 24 years of age, and they've really never managed anything. So the idea would be working with our social workers that these congregations, these churches, these mosques, these synagogues would say, we'll take one family and work with them, and we'll try to put that safety net under them so that they don't fall off the edge one more time. So that's the plan, and we hope it works. We've got until the end of June, at least according to this plan, to find 500 places for people to live. And we really want to not only find places for them to live, but we'd really like to close down D.C. General because it's just not a nice place. It's not a place that children should be raised. But we've got to be able to get the support of folks in our community because there always will be families that have a crisis. And there's always going to need to be a place for them to go. And what unfortunately has happened is that everybody will agree with the statement that I just made, and then they will say, that's nice, but just don't put those programs in my neighborhood. And if you don't put it in anybody's neighborhood, where are they supposed to go? So we're going to have to get the cooperation of people who live in the city to say that we'll be happy to have 6 or 8 or 10 families on a crisis basis to be able to move into whatever the place may be. In order to be able to be responsive to families when they may have no place to go. So that's the plan right now. I don't know, Deputy Mayor, if you have anything you want to add to that. I think it's about 100. Is it 199 units so far that have been identified subject to certification?
I think yesterday the number I got was 235.
Okay.
About 131 of those have been inspected and have passed inspection.
Okay.
So as those pass inspection, then we can place families in them. And so I get reports every Friday to see where we are in terms of that. And then families have the opportunity to move into those.
That's good news. I mean, if we got, all those units that you just mentioned, that would put us almost halfway to where we're trying to get to.
So far for the month of April, and we kicked this off April 1st, our target for April was 80, and we're at 68.
That's not
so
bad.
That means we need to get 12 more families in by next Thursday, and we will have met our goal for April. And our goal for April was a little lower because obviously we kicked it off in April.
Ramped up, yeah. Well, that's good news. And, nobody wants to have children, especially living in a shelter. Can you imagine going to school and you're 8 years old or 7 years old and somebody says, where do you live? And you have to answer, I live in a shelter. I live at DC General. Nobody wants to give an answer like that. And we don't want our children to be in a situation like that either. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me, so it's construction over there by Good Hope in Alabama. Can you tell me what that's going to be?
Oh, Skyland? Oh, you mean around where the CVS is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'll be happy to tell you what that is. I can tell you in 6,000 words or more. We're building a new shopping center. That's been promised for 28 years, and we are getting it done. We're having a bill signing. Legislation is being signed on Monday to finalize going forward with that. But there will be a new Walmart that will be built over there. And then the CVS is going to be rebuilt. And there will be other stores that will be built there. And as well as housing, there will be about 400 to 500 units of housing that will be built on those same grounds. So that's what's happening. You're already seeing some construction over there. They're removing the utilities so they can rebuild the whole area. Construction should be fully underway by September. And it's going to take about 2 years to finish the new shopping center, but it's going to be a great addition to that part of Southeast. In fact, I live right around the corner from there myself. Where do you live?
Over there by Bridgeport, by the Splash Park.
By the Splash Park? Okay. In Parklands? Yeah. Well, you won't be far from there. And it's going to be a very nice addition to that area of Southeast. And a lot of people have talked about it, and we promised that we would get it done, and we are getting it done. It's going to happen. Yes, back here, and then we'll come back to you, since you've already had a chance to.
I would like to know, for the Kids Ride Free Act, are the trains free too for kids?
Speak up a little bit.
For the Kids Ride Free Act, are the trains free too, or just the bus?
You say is it the train or the bus or both?
Yeah.
I think it's a train, isn't it?
Some people do have their passes for Metro Rail already, but this is mainly for this is just focused on the bus program. So it's going to involve circulator bus and the traditional Metro buses. So both of them you'll be able to ride free on.
I know I saw a hand back here. Go ahead, young lady.
So on the side of the budget, is y'all supporting more security in DC public schools?
I don't know if there's any increases in security in the public schools or not. Do you know?
Like more safety?
Hi, I'm Kaya Henderson. I'm the Chancellor of DC Public Schools. I don't think that we are looking at more security in DC Public Schools, but in fact, we need to figure out how to make sure that we're maximizing the security that we have and use it in a different way. In some schools, the security programs are really great. The security guards have really good relationships with the families and the students and the administrators. That's not across the board, and so we're trying to work to make sure that that happens a little better than it has previously. Thanks for the question.
Do you have a comment you want to make, Your Honor?
I'm a retired judge of the Superior Court and former magistrate judge in the federal court with a total of 41 years on the bench. And upon retiring, I retired to do the work and support the youth, not only of D.C., but of the entire nation. And I head a national organization called the National African American Drug Policy Coalition to steer children away from drugs and drug trafficking and into the programs that's been discussed here this afternoon. And indeed, we are developing programs to engage in affirmative action on our own to work with our youth. Matter of fact, the mayor and I started working together back with Reclaim Our Youth in the early 1990s, together with reference to providing these opportunities. There are 4 or 5 programs he has mentioned that we are specifically developing concepts and implementing, not only for youth here in D.C., but all over the country. Number 1, of course, is a tutoring program for kids between 3rd and 8th grades from our college students and UDC, Howard, and other colleges as part of their community service obligations while going through college, so that they make sure by the time they reach the 8th grade, they are reading at literacy level and at math level. When they get to the 8th grade and they decide on what they might want to do when they become adults, we give them not just a simple mentor, but we give them a counselor mentor. So a kid who wants to be an electrical engineer will have an electrical engineer assigned to him or her in 8th grade to almost be like a surrogate parent, a father, to counsel that kid as if that kid were his own son or daughter. When they get to be a junior or senior, we put them in internship programs, but not just something to keep them busy. It is an apprentice internship program where they're working in the engineer's office. The National Medical Association, in joining the coalition which I head of 1 million black professionals, have said that every black kid in America who by the time they are in the 8th grade want to be a doctor, we will assign a doctor to work with them from the 8th grade all the way until they get to residency. And indeed, I've talked with the president of the National Medical Association about establishing a program for every black kid, male or female, who enters college in this country who say they have a pre-med major. They will have a doctor assigned to them in the first year of college to mentor and counsel them in addition to school counseling so they can make the grades to pass the MCAT and get into medical school. The National Medical Association says in the next 10 years we want to double the number of homegrown African Americans in medicine in this country. And the Nursing Association, the Dentist Association, the Pharmacy Association are all working with me. But even more importantly, to the District of Columbia, we have a local chapter called the Washington Healthcare Empowerment Coalition, in which we work strongly with to establish a program where black professionals in this city, as well as senior citizens, will be available to youngsters in the middle schools on to be counselor mentors, and we want to work with your engagement center. We've been already talking with members of this council and with the mayor's office about divergent programs for kids who innocently or get involved in fist fights in schools or simple possession of one marijuana cigarette. Let's not give them a juvenile adjudication, which will be an albatross around their necks all the way through school and all the way through life. Let's get them you might say, reprogrammed to take on social values and so forth. The very first opportunity they get involved with a shoplifting case and develop a sense of responsibility and work ethic. So we are there for the last 10 years. I have devoted my life to working all over this country to deal with solving the problem of mass incarceration and the school discipline pipeline. Now, I would like to work more closely with the administration, and I've worked with Anita Barnes and made several suggestions to her already. But we are ready, and we have the National Bar Association and the lawyers available to give you the best legal advice in the country.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Burnett. All right, we have a hand back here.
Hi, Atia Artist with Ministry of Leadership Institute. Would the Kids Ride Free Act be effective in the summertime while students are transporting to their summer jobs?
I think it is. Do you know, Eric?
That is one program that we're still looking to see if there's funding for at this point in time. There may be, I think at best, some one-time funding to be able to do it this year, but we are looking at that, Mayor, and we're certainly going to present that to you in the next week as a possibility. But it is something that we are challenged with right now, but it is something that's going to be brought to the Mayor's attention, and we can see if we can find the funds for it.
All right. All right. I want to thank all of you all for coming out today and participating and being a part of this. And thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Council Member, for being here with us this afternoon.
I just wanted to add two we started out concentrating on African Americans, but now we have broadened it to include Hispanics and all minorities in the program. And indeed, several members of Congress have, in fact, encouraged me to make it universal for all kids in the, and we're, with sufficient resources, we are attempting to do so. And other important thing is we want to engage the senior citizens in giving back when they are sitting in assisted living and elsewhere and being idle. So we are exploring with AARP involving senior citizens as constant mentors, even in their senior years, so that they feel useful, that they are giving back to the future generations of this country.
Thank you, Your Honor. Cedric, you want to close it out? You're the youth director.
All right, I would like to again thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to thank all of the adults and all of the agencies that were represented here on this afternoon. To all of the young people, thank you for doing a fantastic job and your questions. And so we're dismissed. Thank you again.